Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Tuesday, November 1st. I'm Jason Fulmore, SC Russell, and today we are talking Georgia class for class, top 10. Fat and Scrappy's Lucas DeSilva and I got together last week, maybe early last week, and talked about all these different the classes. If you missed 7A and 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, and the girls, they have all been posted on the YouTube channel. And today, Lucas breaks down his class for class top 10, which is, kind of just a fun, if you were to throw all of them in the same class, who he thinks are the top 10. Anyway, a couple of things. Number one, before we get to that, thank you to Coach Dodgens at Bruton Parker for letting us use his office and doing the video. We appreciate it. It was nice to go down there and visit for their intra-squad match and see some of their kids compete and that sort of thing. And we got to do that in person. And then a couple of things that on the agenda before we get to the class for class. Number one, it is November 1st. That means that, we've got some Division I wrestling tonight here in the Southeast. I believe it is Queens visiting the Citadel, which I think is on ESPN Plus. So if you have ESPN Plus, you should be able to stream that match and watch several former Southeast wrestlers, and, well, they're in the Southeast, so current Southeast wrestlers compete in that duel. And the Wichita Baptist out in Arkansas visits Little Rock to open their dual season as well tonight. So shout out to them. That's fantastic to see D1 get started. NAIA started this past week, so that was fun to watch. And then the NWCA Division III rankings all dropped this past, yesterday, a couple days ago. We posted a few. And a shout out to several of the individuals from the Southeast who made those top 20 in their weight class. Josh Wilson from Greensboro, who is number 2 in the Southeast at 141 and number 5 overall at 141. You've got Darian Estevez from the University of Chicago, who is number 1 in the upper Midwest. Number 6 overall at 165. And then Hunter Campbell from Averett up in Virginia. Hunter was a North Carolina wrestler. He comes in at number 11 at 149. He is also number 1 in the Southeast. We also had several other wrestlers who have Southeast ties, who are ranked in their regions. It is posted on scwrestle.com if you are interested in a list of those names. Congratulations to all of them and good luck to all of them as they begin their seasons this week. Speaking of this week, I don't know, man. Later this week, down Friday, Saturday. Well, it actually starts on Saturday. I'll be heading there on Friday. In Jacksonville is the River City, shootout? River City, I'm not sure what they're calling it, but we've got Wisconsin, Buffalo, Iowa State, Campbell, UTC, and Little Rock in a day of duels down at Jacksonville University. And it should be fantastic. I think it's streamed on Rockfin. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll certainly be down covering it. Look for posts, Instagram posts, different things like that from me as we welcome some really good programs here to the Southeast. You get to watch some college wrestling, which is fantastic. A couple other things. The Georgia previews and Alabama previews, because they start their seasons next week. Well, the end of next week will drop next week on the website. And then a cue to I had a conversation with Jackson Bast, who is at Bluefield. They're heavyweight, but is from Alabama, runs the Alabama Wrestling Forums. And he and I broke down the top 10 in each of the 4 classifications, just like Lucas and I did for Georgia. Jackson and I did it for Alabama. Hope to have Coach Ham on talking about the top 10 teams in Tennessee, and Brant Parsons for Florida. Not sure we're going to be able to get somebody from North Carolina, South Carolina, but we'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Lucas DeSilva and his class for class, which is always certain to bring a little controversy because there's a lot of really good teams in this top 10. All right, see ya. Class for class, Fat and Scrappy.
Yes, sir.
Is this the most difficult?
Yeah, because I kick a hornet's nest every time I do this.
Well, because to be fair, right? Everybody thinks these should be higher.
Oh, for sure.
In the class for class, right?
Well, if you're in the case of Camden, you think you should be lower in the case of them and Jess. That's still so. What you people don't understand is what you don't see off camera was when me and him were talking in the 7 and 6. He brought up a nice little Facebook post that I forgot about, and I was pissed at when I read it, and he made me mad all over again.
Right.
So
right.
here we are, class for class.
Yeah. So class for class, and for people who are new who haven't watched the class for class or the one you did for the preseason, right? This is all the classes, all 9,402, right? Classes in Georgia, scrunched down into one class for class ranking top 10.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So is it as easy as taking the number one here and 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 just kind of ordering it that way?
We see a number one team in a classification that is sitting at number 10 in the class for class rankings. So there is a bit more of the points that they earn in the matrix is what decides their ranking here. So there's only a couple times where I have to break ties. When I have to break ties, it is where I say to myself, okay, who do I think is going to compete better against each other directly? Other than that, I just go based on the scores.
All right. So how what happens when like somebody hasn't? I mean, when you come up with like a 9.0 for Rockmart or whatever the case is, right? I know that's supposed to be kind of within the context of the entire state, but you're thinking of it in terms of 2A. Is it hard to think of it in terms of the entire state?
It's actually easier because when I decided to make the rankings, I had to make a choice of when I did this point system, was it going to be in a vacuum of ranking them where I only looked at Rockmart in terms of into a competition and that they could have a 10.0 and that, because then I realized I'm going to have 6 teams with a 10.0 then. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have one team dominate most of the time, in most circumstances, and they're going to get a 10.0. It's going to happen across multiple classes, and then when I try to do the class for class rank, it's going to be a pain in the you-know-what. So I decided I would judge the state as a whole, as one collective, as if we were like California with one state champion. That's how mentally I judged it when I made my matrix and I made my actual point system, because there it makes life easier in the sense of putting it all together. It's actually a little bit more difficult when I separate into the classes because you could look at a team like in 7A. Is it really fair to judge a Buford against Mountain View when they're competing 2 separate times of the year, separate levels of competition? Is it as fair? Maybe not, but it was going to be unfair one way or another. So I picked my poison.
You picked your path, and that was.
And I feel like that the way I did it is arguably the most fair to everybody involved, at least in my opinion.
So instead of counting up like we did with the preseason, we'll do a countdown like we did all these other ones for the preseason.
Yes, sir.
We still have Buford at the top.
Yes, sir.
Right? You still got Cass number 2. You still have Camden number 3. Jefferson comes in number 4, which is the number 2 team in 5A.
Camden and Jefferson are both number 2s.
Oh, right.
Yes.
But now you've got Social Circle number 5 instead of Rockmart. Why?
So it is Social Circle and Rockmart ended with an 8.9, both of them. They ended tied with an 8.9.
Okay.
So when I looked at it, I said to myself, okay, and this is how I break ties. We put them in a high-level tournament together. What team do I think is going to end up with higher team points? When I thought about it, I gave Rockmart a close edge individually. However, when I thought of a dual meet situation, I see a scenario where...
So like an Elite 8 duels, but for their high school.
Yes. Okay. I see a scenario where Social Circle could outpoint Rockmart and be comfortable in their lead. So in the moment, I gave Social Circle the nod. Now I will admit, these are 2 teams I'm very biased towards. I like both of them for different reasons. Social Circle, you have Nate Etheridge, you have Robert Klein, you have guys that I know, that I've grown up around. So obviously there's a bit of homerism there. But Rockmart was the team. Rockmart and North Paulding the past 2 years have made me look like a genius. So I love them for that. which is difficult to do, ladies and gentlemen. Made me like a
Why
genius.
he just stole it from me.
I did, because I knew where you were going with it. I knew it was coming.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, I think Rockmart and Social Circle are almost nearly interchangeable. I would love to see...
Well, and they are number 6. Rockmart is number 6.
5 and 6. So I think,
right.
in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that there's too much of a difference there. I just think I had to have one at 5. And I think Social Circle's earned it. Some great performances in this offseason. Braden Mitchell wrestled his head off at Super 32. Maybe didn't get the placement result he wanted, but wrestled hard. I think went 4-2 or 5-2. Had a really good weekend. So Social Circle, number 5 for me.
All right. So, and the rest of your top 10 are the same teams. They're just in a little bit different of an order.
Yeah,
so Lovett's at 7. Brunswick is 8, which they were 6 previously.
Yep. Slipped down a few points.
Ola moves from 10 to 9,
Yep.
and they just flipped spots with
Gilmer, who dropped. Yep.
So, I mean, are you splitting hairs? Are they really just all pretty interchangeable
I
down
will
there
say
at the bottom?
a little bit interchangeability there. Ola Mustangs, though, have impressed me in this offseason. When you watch them, it went to Cars Category 5s, where I'm asking Cliff Fretwell, hey, who's that kid that I don't know at all who's really athletic? And he'd be like, oh, hey, that's Zion Smith. He's going to be really good. He's been with us since how... And they're growing. Shout out Compound and the work he's doing. Obviously, Cliff Fretwell, Flowers. Ola really impressed me. Connor Kimbrough, Brian Papkin, the whole crew. Just very impressive as a whole to me. So I like what I'm seeing out of the Mustangs. So they're actually... I think that... They're both at an 8.6, but I think Ola is a slight step ahead of Gilmer right now.
So last time in the preseason rankings, Ola got the 10th spot over 2 or 3 other teams that were right there with them.
So what's funny about you
Is
mentioning
that the same thing?
On the outside looking in, the North Paulding Wolfpack also have an 8.6.
Oh, okay.
Them, Ola, and Gilmer were all right there with an 8.6. I love North Paulding, as you know. Like I said, made me look like a genius, but I wasn't ready to jump them above Gilmer yet. I'm not ready to do it. I need to see a little more out of them. A little more. I know that's asking a lot, but when we get to the regular season, we'll see them against more dense competition, I would argue, where you'll see a bit more of, hey, we know what this guy is. We know what...
So I'm going to now push back just a bit.
Please do.
Because if Mill Creek have the Mills, and they have
Blue Stifler, Dom
Bambinelli, if they go to the knockout, right, which I think they're supposed to do, they're finishing pretty high simply because of those individuals there. So how are they not a top 10 class for class with those hammers in the lineup?
Hear that silence? That's what I've heard from the rest of their lineup.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that's not a bad thing. I just haven't heard anything yet. And when you're at this level of teams in the state and in the Southeast, I need to hear more than 4 names.
Got it. Okay.
So where there's an outlier is a team like North Paulding and Camden, who don't necessarily need the high-end talent. How they could just be a lineup killer of 14 guys. They come ready to wrestle. They come ready to compete. You don't need to have that star-studded guy necessarily. So that's where there's an outlier. I can name Caden Brown, Colin Mullins, Josh Denson. I can name guys from North Paulding.
Right.
But interchangeably speaking, they all work as a unit. They work really well as a unit. Mill Creek is the 12th ranked team in the state at 8.3. They're not too far off, only 0.3 difference. I just need to see more of the rest of their lineup. Now, when I run into Mr. Mills, I know I'm going to get told that there's more of their lineup. I know that. I just need to see it. And then when I see it with my own eyes, we'll have a different discussion. And then behind them, 8.2 Jackson County and South Paulding coming 13th and 14th. Right outside the top 10. Right there.
All right. That's your class for class. And I know this is our last one that we're doing, but there's a bunch of them.
Yep.
But I know that, but we're going to I'm going to ask you real quick.
Yes, sir.
So how long are we going to take before you do the next one? Will it be early December?
I think I'll do mid-season rankings. I think I'm going to do rankings probably in the middle of the school year.
Okay.
But it depends.
So Christmas break.
Maybe. I know for sure I'm going to do mid-season rankings. It's whether I do like Thanksgiving rankings, Christmas rankings. I think if anything, you'll for sure see updated individual rankings. Team rankings, I might give a few more weeks and do.
And by the way, he's got some individual rankings that he's dropping as well.
I'm expecting heat for those, so I almost kind of... I'll say this on this video. For those that I don't know when this video is going to come out, but I have some announcements coming up, and one of them is, of course, that my individual rank will be dropping rather soon, and those are going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, I can't wait for the season to start. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm excited. I'm buzzing. It's a wonderful time to be a guy in the wrestling media, and in the state of Georgia specifically. There's a lot of growth going on, a lot of fun things. I'm excited to be a part of it, even if it is just watching from the sideline now. As I'm to the high scores, I'm old and decrepit, anyways.
As his boot would attest.
yeah, as I'm in a boot as well. So hell.
All right, guys, you take care. Tell them what he got wrong. I can't wait to see it.
You know they will.